Hello, welcome to the Learned English Lab. Today's podcast is Why You Understand English but Can't Speak It.
It really is the single most common frustration among language learners out there. It's this universal struggle that nobody really warns you about when you start.
Yeah, they don't. And before we dive into the science, because we do have a lot of ground to cover today with neurology, psychology, and even the physical mechanics, I really want to set the scene for you listening.
Right, because we need to validate what you are feeling. I think every single person tuning in has been in this specific room.
The room where confidence goes to die.
That is a harsh way to put it, but it's spot on.
Picture this scenario. You were at a dinner party, or maybe it's a networking event, or a big meeting at work. English is just flying around the table. People are chatting, telling stories, maybe complaining about the weather or the coffee.
And you feel good.
You feel great. You are tracking the conversation. You're nodding at all the right times. Someone tells a joke, and you actually laugh along with everyone else.
Which is a huge victory, by the way. Understanding humor in a second language is, it's high-level comprehension.
Totally. You feel like part of the tribe. You sit there thinking, okay, I've got this. My English is strong.
Yeah.
And then the atmosphere shifts.
We can.
The atmosphere shifts. The eye contact turns toward you. The spotlight hits. Someone looks you right in the face and asks, so what do you think about the new policy?
Or even something super simple like, have you seen any good movies lately?
And then comes the freeze.
The dreaded freeze.
It's instantaneous. It's not just that you forget a specific word. It feels like a total system failure. Your mouth goes dry, your heart rate spikes, and your mind, which was full of thoughts and opinions just 3 seconds ago, is suddenly a blank whiteboard.
It's a physiological shutdown. And usually you end up mumbling something one-worded, it was good, or I don't know.
And then you spend the next hour or even the next day just beating yourself up about it.
It is a shame spiral because the internal monologue is devastating. You think to yourself, I understood everything they said. I'm a smart person. I'm an adult with a degree. Why did I just sound like a toddler? Is my brain broken?
That is the big fear, isn't it? That it's a sign of a lack of intelligence or a lack of ability.
And that is exactly what we need to dismantle today in this deep dive. If you are listening to this and nodding your head, I need you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are not stupid.
That is such a relief to hear.
It needs to be said. This phenomenon, this massive gap between high comprehension and low production is not a personal failure. It is a specific, documented cognitive and neurological reality.
So you're saying this affects millions of people?
Millions. Absolutely millions. There are people who can read complex novels in English, watch movies without subtitles, and understand deep dives like this one perfectly, yet they crumble the moment they have to introduce themselves.
So our mission today is to figure out why this happens. We are going to take this apart piece by piece. We're going to look at the brain science, the psychology, the history of the education system that failed you, and even the physical mechanics of your mouth.
And crucially, we are going to provide a roadmap to fix it. We're going to look at specific, actionable strategies to bridge that gap so you can finally let all that knowledge out.
Let's dive right into the core of the problem. Section 1. The disconnect between understanding and speaking. Because logically, they feel like they should be the exact same skill, don't they?
They do.
If I have the data in my head, I should be able to output the data.
That's the intuitive assumption, but neurologically, it's completely false. Listening and speaking utilize entirely different parts of the brain. They are not the same skill. They are related, sure, but they are distinct.
Let's unpack this, because I think we tend to lump knowing English into one big bucket.
We do, and it's a mistake. Think of it this way. Let's use a piano analogy. Imagine you are a huge fan of classical piano music. You listen to Chopin or Beethoven every single day.
Okay, I'm with you.
You know the pieces by heart. You can identify a mistake if a pianist misses a note. You can distinguish between a sad, melancholic piece and a bright, happy one instantly. You have expert-level listening skills for piano.
Right. I can appreciate the music perfectly. I have good taste.
Now, if I sit you down on the piano bench, put the sheet music in front of you and say, okay, play that song you just heard, what happens?
I stare at the keys. I have no idea where to put my fingers. My hands just don't move.
Spot on, because listening is recognition, playing is production. Playing requires finger strength, muscle memory, timing, coordination between the left and right hand. Just because you can hear the music doesn't mean your hands know how to make it.
So speaking a language is the same thing.
Exactly. It's a performance skill, not just a comprehension skill.
That makes so much sense. It really reminds me of the cooking analogy for this too. I watch a lot of those high stakes cooking shows.
Oh, sure, where they have to make a gourmet meal in 30 minutes.
Yes. I watch these master chefs make a beef Wellington. I understand every step. I know the ingredients. You sear the beef, make the mushroom duxelles, wrap it in prosciutto, then the puff pastry. I get the theory. I could probably write it down on a test and get an A.
Right.
But if you put me in a kitchen right now, set a timer, and told me to make a beef Wellington, you're going to get burnt pastry and raw meat. It would be a disaster.
Because watching or understanding is passive. It's observation. Cooking or speaking is active. It involves managing variables.
Like heat control.
Heat control, chopping speed, tasting, adjusting the seasoning in real time. When you speak English, you are the chef.
Yeah.
You have to handle the ingredients, the words, the grammar, the intonation under extreme pressure.
So we basically have these two categories of skills, receptive skills and productive skills.
Correct. Receptive skills are listening and reading. You are the audience receiving information. Productive skills are speaking and writing. You are the creator making the information. And here's the golden rule of language learning that often gets ignored. Receptive skills always develop faster than productive skills.
Is that a natural hierarchy? Like, it happens to everyone.
It's biological. Think about a baby. A 1-year-old child understands a massive amount of language.
That's true.
You say, come here, they come. You say, do you want milk? They get excited. You say, don't touch that, and they stop. Well, usually they stop. They understand tone, intent, and vocabulary.
But can they say those sentences back to you?
No, they can maybe say mama or dada or milk.
They have a huge receptive gap.
Huge. But we don't look at a baby and say, wow, that baby is stupid. He understands the concept of milk, but can't articulate the sentence, Father, I would like some dairy beverage. We know he's just developing.
Right.
But as adults, we judge ourselves so harshly for having that exact same gap.
That is a huge relief to hear. It's not a malfunction. It's just the natural order of things. But let's get into the brain a bit more. What is actually happening in our heads when we try to find a word? I know we've talked about the library of words in our research for this deep dive.
Yes, the library of words. This is a great way to visualize the difference between your passive and active vocabulary. Imagine your brain has 2 shelves.
2 shelves. Okay, I'm picturing it.
Shelf number 1 is your passive vocabulary. This shelf is enormous. It stretches as far as the eye can see. It contains every word you recognize when you hear it or read it. Words like magnificent, consequences, reluctant, fascinating, inevitable.
Right. If I read inevitable in a book, I know what it means instantly. I don't need to grab a dictionary.
That's shelf 1. Now, look at shelf number 2. This is your active vocabulary. This shelf is tiny. It's a small little rack in the corner, maybe covered in dust. This shelf only contains the words that are ready for immediate automatic use when you speak.
And the problem is the gap between the sizes of these shelves. We want to pull from the big shelf, but we can only reach the small one in the moment.
And that leads us directly to the nice trap. This is a classic example that drives learners absolutely crazy. Let's say you went on a vacation to the Swiss Alps.
Okay.
In your head, on shelf 1, you have words like breathtaking, stunning, picturesque, majestic, crisp. You know these words perfectly well.
I can read them, I can hear them, I can think them.
But you come back to the office and start telling your friend about the trip. You want to describe the mountains. You really want to use the word majestic. But your brain can't move it from the big shelf to the small shelf fast enough. There is a disconnect in the retrieval. So what do you say instead?
The mountains were nice.
The hotel was nice.
The food was nice.
Yeah.
And inside you're just screaming at yourself. I know better words than nice. I am a sophisticated adult.
It's a retrieval failure. The words are stuck in deep storage. Think of the library analogy again. Listening is like someone handing you a book and asking, do you know this book? You look at the cover and say, yes, I know it. It's easy. It's low energy.
That's recognition.
Speaking is like someone telling you, okay, run into the library. You have 2 seconds. Find the specific book on the 3rd floor, aisle 4, shelf B. Grab it, open it to page 50, and read it out loud.
And do it while someone is staring at you waiting for an answer.
That is the pressure of speaking. It requires high-speed retrieval. Most learners have built a massive library because they spend years reading and listening, but they haven't practiced the skill of running in and grabbing the book. They have strong shelves, but weak legs.
Weak legs, that's a great way to put it. And that leads us perfectly into the next barrier. Because if it was just a mechanical issue of finding the word, that would be one thing. You could just practice running into the library. But there is a huge emotional wall standing in front of those doors. The fear. The anxiety.
This is often the biggest factor of all. For many people, the problem isn't linguistic at all.
Really? Not linguists.
Not at its core. It's not that they don't know the English, it's that their brain literally shuts down due to panic. We call it the anxiety loop.
Walk us through the loop. What is happening physically in the body?
It starts with nervousness. Someone asks you a question in English. Your heart rate spikes. That physical stress signal, the racing heart, the sweaty palms, tells your brain we are in danger. Your amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain, takes over. It goes into fight or flight mode.
And when you're in fight or flight, your brain isn't prioritizing grammar, is it?
Not at all. When your brain thinks a lion is chasing you, it shuts down all non-essential functions to conserve energy for running or fighting. Unfortunately, complex second language processing is considered highly non-essential for survival. So the panic leads to lost words.
And then what happens?
The lost words lead to more panic. You think, oh no, I can't speak. Everyone is looking at me. The embarrassment feeds the amygdala, the heart races faster, and then you freeze up completely.
We have a story from the source material about Maria, a Brazilian learner, that perfectly illustrates this, don't we?
Yes, Maria is the classic case. She's an advanced learner. She works for a multinational corporation. She reads novels in English for fun on the weekends. Her grammar test scores are near perfect. She writes flawless, complex emails.
But the boardroom is a completely different story.
The boardroom is her nightmare. One day, her boss, in a big meeting with international clients, turns to her and asks for her opinion on a project. Maria, what's your take on the Q3 strategy?
Oh, the spotlight moment.
The spotlight hits. Maria freezes. She knows the answer. She knows the strategy inside and out, but the words vanish. She mumbles, I don't know, or it's okay. She turns red. She feels like she's totally failed.
That's agonizing.
But here's the fascinating part. She goes back to her desk. She sits down. The meeting ends. The pressure lifts. And what happens?
The words come flooding back.
Suddenly, she knows exactly what she should have said. She constructs perfect, complex sentences in her head. I think the project strategy requires a nuance in the marketing approach regarding the supply chain.
It's so frustrating because she sits there thinking, why didn't I say that 5 minutes ago?
And she realizes her English didn't magically improve in those 5 minutes. She didn't learn new vocabulary walking from the boardroom to her desk. Her cortisol levels just dropped, the anxiety barrier lifted, and the library doors opened up again.
That anxiety is often fueled by perfectionism, isn't it? I feel like learners are their own harshest critics.
The perfectionism trap is deadly for language learners. Learners often have this deeply ingrained idea that they cannot open their mouths unless they have constructed a grammatically flawless sentence in their heads first.
Right. They are mentally diagramming the sentence, checking the verb tense, the prepositions, the word order, all before they even take a breath to speak.
But conversation doesn't wait for you to grade your own paper.
No, it doesn't. By the time you've built the perfect sentence in your mind, the topic has changed. People have moved on. You missed the boat entirely.
We need a major reality check here about how native speakers actually talk, because I think learners compare their messy speaking to a native speaker's perfect speaking, but native speakers aren't perfect.
Not even close. If you actually analyze a transcript of a native speaker talking casually, it is a total disaster of grammar.
It really is. We say things like, me and him went to the store, which is technically completely wrong. It should be he and I. We say, I could care less, which literally means the exact opposite of what we intend it to mean.
We stumble. We mumble. We use like and, every other word.
Speaking is messy. That is the fundamental nature of spoken language. It is a rough draft, not a published paper, but the learner tries to speak like a polished textbook.
And behind that perfectionism is the fear of judgment. The idea that the listener is mentally grading you. Oh, he used the present perfect tense incorrectly there. -5 points.
That is entirely a projection. The reality is, most listeners just want to understand the message. They are focusing on what you are saying, not how you are saying it. Think about it from your own perspective. If you meet someone learning your native language and they speak with a heavy accent and make some grammar mistakes, but you understand their point, do you think, wow, they are stupid?
No, never. I usually think, wow, good for them. They put in the effort to learn my language. I'm impressed. Or I'm just actively trying to help them find the word if they get stuck.
That's the crux of it. We need to reframe that fear. The listener is almost always your ally, not your judge.
So we have the brain structure, we have the anxiety loop. Now let's look at where this all started, the classroom. Why did school fail you?
This brings us to the educational flaw. And I absolutely love the swimming class analogy for this.
Oh, this is a good one. It really highlights the absurdity of how we teach languages.
Imagine you sign up for a swimming course. You go to class every day for 4 years. In class, you study the rich history of swimming. You study the physics of hydrodynamics. You memorize the Latin names of every single muscle used in the backstroke. You watch hours of video of Olympic swimmers and analyze their form on a whiteboard.
You pass written tests on water safety.
Yeah.
You get an A+ in the class.
You get an A+, you are the top student. But in 4 years of this class, you only actually get into the pool twice.
And then for the final exam, they take you out to the ocean, throw you in the deep end, and scream, swim.
And you drown. Why? Because you cannot learn to swim by reading a book about swimming, and you cannot learn to speak English by reading a book about English.
It sounds totally absurd when you put it that way, but that is literally how most traditional language education works around the world.
It is the imbalance of input versus output. The typical ratio in schools is about 95%. Input reading textbooks, listening to the teacher talk, doing fill-in-the-blank grammar drills, and maybe 5% output.
And usually that output is just repeating a sentence after the teacher, not having a real spontaneous conversation.
Exactly. Why is it structured like this if it so clearly doesn't work for conversation? It goes back to something called the grammar translation method. This method was designed centuries ago to teach Latin and Greek.
Dead languages.
Dead languages. The goal was to read ancient texts and translate them, not to chat with a guy at a local coffee shop. So it focuses heavily on deep analysis and direct translation. But the crazy thing is, we are still using this ancient method for living, breathing communication today.
And the result of that is someone like Kenji. Let's talk about Kenji's experience from the research.
Kenji is a Japanese learner. Very high test scores, knows all the grammar rules. He can spot a passive voice sentence from a mile away and correct it. He goes on a trip to New York City, he steps out of the airport, gets in a taxi, and the driver turns around and says, "Where to, buddy?"
A simple question, 3 words.
Simple, casual, fast. Kenji panics. He freezes completely. His textbook never prepared him for "where to, buddy." It prepared him for "where would you like to go, sir?" The academic preparation he had for years simply didn't match the conversational reality of the street.
That actually segues perfectly into the next major trap we need to discuss, the translation trap. Because I bet Kenji was sitting in that taxi trying to translate those 3 words in his head.
Oh, without a doubt. This is a massive processing bottleneck for learners. We call it the 4-step process versus the 2-step process.
Walk us through the steps.
The 4-step process is what most learners default to. Step 1, you hear the English phrase. Step 2, you mentally translate it into your native language. Step 3, you formulate your answer in your native language. Step 4, you translate that answer back into English and finally try to speak.
That sounds absolutely exhausting just listening to you describe it.
It creates a massive lag in the brain. It's way too slow for real-time conversation. The goal you want to reach is the 2-step process. Step 1, hear English. Step 2, answer in English. No detour through your native language at all.
But why is translation so bad? I mean, besides the obvious speed issue.
Because languages just don't map onto each other perfectly. There's the untranslatable problem. You can't just swap words one for one.
Like with colors.
Yes, take the color blue. In English, light blue and dark blue are both just called blue. If you want to be specific, you add an adjective. But in Russian, they are entirely distinct colors with different names. Goluboy for light blue and sininy for dark blue. If a Russian speaker is translating in their head, their brain physically stops to decide which blue it is, causing a micro delay that an English speaker doesn't have.
Or cultural concepts, like the phrase, "I miss you."
Oh, this is a fascinating one. In English, "I miss you" is a simple subject-verb-object structure, but in Spanish, te extraño roughly translates to "I strange you" or "you are missing for me." In Korean, the equivalent is more like "I want to see you." In Turkish, it's closer to "I longed for you."
So if you try to direct translate "I miss you" from your native syntax into English, you might end up saying something that makes absolutely no sense.
Exactly. And while you are doing all this mental gymnastics trying to align the syntax, the clock is ticking.
The speed problem. Textbooks give you minutes to think and write. Real life gives you seconds.
Consider the restaurant scenario. A waiter walks up to your table, it's noisy, there's music playing, he says really fast, "Start you off with drinks."
He completely drops the "can I?" He just says "start you off."
Right, and he uses a phrasal verb, "start off." The learner is sitting there trying to parse the grammar. Start off, drinks. Where is the subject? Where is the auxiliary verb? By the time they analyze the sentence structure, the silence has become super awkward. The waiter is tapping his pen. The learner panics.
So what's the fix for this speed issue? If we can't translate fast enough, what do we do?
Chunking. This is a total game changer. Instead of assembling individual words like tiny Lego bricks high, plus would, plus like, plus to you memorize pre-assembled blocks of language.
Like I'd like to.
That is one chunk. You don't think about the grammar of it. To be honest, is another chunk. It depends on is a chunk. You treat them as single units of meaning. This completely bypasses the grammar construction part of your brain and increases your speaking speed drastically.
So you're not building a house brick by brick every single time you open your mouth. You're using prefab walls. You just slide them into place.
That is a brilliant metaphor. It frees up your brain power to focus on the message you want to deliver, not the mechanics of building the sentence.
Okay, so we've talked about the brain, the mind, the education system. Now let's talk about the body. Section 6, the physical barrier. Because speaking is, at the end of the day, a physical act.
It is gymnastics for the mouth. This is something almost no one talks about in language classes. Your mouth involves the tongue, the lips, the jaw, the throat, your vocal cords, your diaphragm.
And muscle memory.
Your native language muscles are on autopilot. They've been doing the exact same microscopic movements for 20, 30, 40 years. English requires you to move your mouth in ways it has literally never moved before.
Like the dreaded TH sound.
The TH is a nightmare for so many learners. You have to physically stick your tongue out between your teeth and blow air. In many cultures, sticking your tongue out is considered rude, or it just feels incredibly unnatural. Your physical body resists doing it.
Or the R and L sounds for Asian speakers.
Yes. It's not just that they can't hear the difference between a right and a light. It's that their tongue has never been asked to make the specific shape required to produce the English R versus the English L. It's like asking someone to do a perfect split when they have never stretched a day in their life. You can't just understand a split and then do it.
And word stress, too. That's very physical.
Yeah, absolutely. The rhythm of English is physical. Take the word spelled present. If you stress the first syllable, present, it's a noun, a gift. If you stress the second syllable, present, it's a verb, like to show something to an audience. Your mouth has to learn to physically punch the right syllable with your breath.
So the solution here isn't studying more vocabulary, it's training.
It's gym time for your face. You need to physically drill these sounds over and over until the muscle memory takes over and you don't have to think about where your tongue goes.
Now, I want to move to something a bit deeper. We've covered the mechanics, but there's a real emotional cost to this language gap. Section 7, the identity crisis.
This is the part that makes people want to just quit entirely. It's the feeling of losing your personality when you switch languages.
Tell us about Ahmed from the research.
Ahmed is an Egyptian engineer. In Arabic, he is the funniest guy in the room. He's witty, he's smart, he tells great, engaging stories. He's the life of the party.
But in English.
When he has to speak English, he feels like he turns into a robot. He loses all his color. He used this incredibly powerful metaphor. He said, in Arabic, I'm a full-color movie. In English, I'm a black and white photo.
Wow.
He feels boring. He feels childlike. He can't make jokes because he doesn't have the timing right or he doesn't know the slang. He feels like a simplified, dumber version of himself.
That is heartbreaking. And I think so many of you listening right now feel that exact same way. You feel like you are hiding your true, vibrant self behind a giant wall of bad grammar.
It is heartbreaking, but there is a way to reclaim that identity. First, you have to accept that your English self might be slightly different from your native self. Maybe your English self is a bit more direct, or maybe a bit more polite and reserved. That's okay. It's a new facet of you.
And you can learn to add the color back in deliberately.
Yes. Don't just learn dry business English. Learn fun English.
What does fun English look like?
Yeah. It means learning slang. Learning idioms, learning how to tell a simple joke, learning reaction phrases like, you're pulling my leg, or no way, get out of here. These little things add the color back into the black and white photo. They make you sound human again.
Okay, we have dissected the problem thoroughly. We know why it happens. We know the brain science, the anxiety, the translation lag, the muscles. Now let's fix it. Section 8, practical solutions and the roadmap. What can our listeners do today to start bridging this gap?
Let's start with the most effective zero-pressure strategy you can do, self-talk.
Literally just talking to yourself.
It sounds a little crazy, but it works wonders. Narrate your life. As you are making coffee in the morning, say out loud, I am pouring the water, I am opening the fridge, I am finding a spoon, where is the sugar? Here it is.
Why does this help so much?
Because there is zero audience. There's no judgment. You are building the neural pathways between your brain and your mouth without triggering the anxiety loop we talked about earlier. You are greasing the gears in a safe environment.
I love that. Okay, strategy number 2, the shadowing technique. This is a big one in the polyglot community, isn't it?
Shadowing is incredibly powerful. Here's exactly how you do it. You find a short piece of audio, maybe a podcast, a TED Talk, a YouTube video that has a transcript.
Okay.
First, you just listen to it. Then, you listen and read along with the text. Finally, and this is the key step, you play the audio and you speak simultaneously with the native speaker.
Like singing along to a song on the radio.
Exactly like that. You don't wait for them to finish the sentence and then repeat it. You speak over them. You try to match their speed, their intonation, their emotion, their pauses. You are literally copying their mouth movements. It trains that physical muscle memory we talked about without you having to invent the sentences yourself.
Strategy 3, filler phrases. This is all about buying time, right?
Native speakers use these constantly. Let me see. That's a good question. What I mean is, to be honest with you,
That's a huge one.
if you learn these chunks, you avoid the awkward silence that triggers panic. When your brain freezes in a meeting, you don't just stare at them, you throw out a filler phrase.
That's an interesting point. Let me think about that for a second.
It keeps you in control of the floor.
It keeps the floor, it calms your nervous system down, and it gives your brain those precious 3 seconds it needs to run into the library and find the real words.
Brilliant. Strategy 4, the mistake diary. This is how you turn your failures into data. When you have a conversation and you get stuck or you don't know a word and have to talk around it, don't just feel bad and forget it. Write it down later.
So you log it.
You log it. I wanted to say postpone the meeting, but I didn't know the word, so I said make the meeting later. Look it up. Write down postpone. Review it. You are intentionally turning your trouble spots into smooth spots.
Does all of this actually work? Do we have proof from the source material that these methods get people speaking?
We have so many success stories. Take Yuki, for example. She was absolutely terrified of speaking, paralyzed by it. She started just talking to herself in her apartment for 5 minutes a day, just narrating her chores. That's it.
Just 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Then she felt brave enough to move to anonymous online voice groups. Then she started speaking up in meetings. Eventually, she got a major promotion because she could finally communicate with the overseas clients.
Just from starting with 5 minutes a day of self-talk.
Consistency beats intensity every time. Then there's Carlos. He had severe anxiety. The anxiety loop was his biggest barrier. He started by sending voice notes to himself on his phone.
That's a great intermediate step.
Right, because you record it but no one hears it. Then he moved to sending voice notes to a language exchange partner. The beauty of a voice note is he could delete it and re-record it if he messed up. It lowered the stakes. Then finally, he moved to live video calls. He utilized a psychological technique called gradual exposure.
Slowly turning up the heat. And what about Fatima? Her story was really unique.
Fatima treated the real world like a video game. She gave herself missions to overcome her fear of judgment. She would say, okay, today's homework assignment. Go to a cafe and ask the barista for an extra napkin in English. Or, homework. Stop a stranger on the street and ask for directions to the train station.
Even if she already knew where the train station was.
Even if she knew. By framing it as an assignment, she took her ego out of it. It wasn't a test of her worth. It was just a task to complete.
I love that so much. Gamify the fear. Make it a quest. Okay, finally, section 9. Mindset shifts. Because all the techniques and shadowing in the world won't help if your head isn't in the right place.
The mindset is the foundation. The first major shift is moving from I'm not good enough to I'm building neural pathways.
Reframing the struggle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every single time you struggle to find a word, every time you stumble, you are physically changing the structure of your brain. It's a workout. When your muscles burn at the gym, you don't say, I'm a failure. You say, I'm getting stronger. Speaking English is a brain workout.
Shift number 2. From mistakes are bad to mistakes are teachers.
You cannot learn a language without making errors. It is biologically and cognitively impossible. If you aren't making mistakes, you aren't trying hard enough. You are staying too safe.
And the big one, the third shift, from I need to sound native to I need to communicate.
This is so crucial. People obsess over their accents. Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look at Sofia Vergara. Look at the CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai. They all have noticeable accents. They occasionally make minor grammar slips. Does it stop them from being at the absolute top of their fields?
Not at all.
No. Because they are successful communicators. They communicate clearly, confidently, and with purpose. Your accent is your history. It shows you speak more than one language. Don't hide it. Don't let the pursuit of perfect stop you from being understood.
Which brings us to the ultimate paradox of language learning.
The paradox is this. You cannot wait until your English is good enough to speak.
Say that again, because that is the trap everyone falls into.
You cannot wait until your English is good enough to speak. You must speak to make your English good enough. You are sitting there waiting for some magical permission slip from your brain that will never come. The only way to bridge the gap between the big shelf and the small shelf is to jump.
That is an incredibly powerful place to land. It really flips the whole traditional school model on its head.
It is the only truth in language learning that matters. Output drives fluency.
So here is our challenge to you, the listener. Right now, not tomorrow, not next week when you feel more ready, right now. I want you to open your mouth, yes, wherever you are. If you are in the car, on a walk, doing the dishes, I want you to say out loud, "My name is Skada, and I am learning English."
Do it. Break the silence in the room. Hear your own voice speaking the words.
The only way to bridge the gap between understanding and speaking is to speak. Start today.
Start messy. Start imperfectly. Just start.
If you found this useful, please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. We want to help as many learners as possible break through this barrier and finally find their voice.
Absolutely. Good luck out there, and keep speaking.
See you in the next deep dive.